Hello everyone and welcome to week 4 of our Intro to Mass Media class. And today we're going to be talking about television, and you'll see in our content section for this week a textual exploration of the history and hardware of television development. And in this I'm going to talk more about convergence of TV and some of the regulations that have taken place that affect convergence models. So let's start with talking about third and fourth screens, a concept that our book introduces. And this is simply the concept that a first screen is going to a movie theater, a second screen is a television, a third screen is considered a laptop, a computer, or an iPad, and a fourth screen is considered a mobile phone. Now, why I bring this up is because in your eMedia journals that I read this week, nearly all of you reported using these different screens at different times to view TV and movies on a daily basis. So obviously this is already a big part of your life, and I really want us to consider what our textbook says and think about some of the trends about how these different screens influence what content is produced, and how does this even shift our immersive experience, because we may not be watching TV as family units anymore. Perhaps we might watch something together, but then we might retire to our separate spaces and watch different shows at different times on different devices. So are we now consuming more TV products alone because of this shift? Now, take a look at this chart. We as a nation are still spending the same amount of time watching TV, if not more, compared to pre-convergence TV times. And with these additions to our home, have you noticed if your family spends more or less time consuming television? Now, also, as the previous graph showed, we are watching the majority of our television on streaming venues. So even though a lot of people might still own cable, they might not have a DVR, or perhaps they just might choose to be more mobile with their TV watching. So organizations like Netflix and Hulu and several other streaming sites really have become the poster child for TV convergence. And as the networks kind of jump on the boat for online programming, I think that this integration will just become more solid over time. And so as consumers, although we do get to pick and choose more of what we want to watch and when, companies like Netflix and Hulu are still working with the larger production conglomerates to sift through what we see as consumers. So in a sense, Netflix and Hulu, NBC and ABC and all the major affiliates are still serving as corporate gatekeepers to this freedom of choice, despite how much more access we feel like we do have. So let's shift to look at some of the regulations that have happened to network control over time and how that has shaped our cross-platform society of television viewing. In the 1960s and 70s, regulations were set by the FCC to undercut network power. These reduced primetime hours and helped establish FinCEN rules. These financial interest and syndication rules helped bring down the profit margin of networks by kind of regulating what they could take for shows that they released for syndication. This was the first step in opening up larger channel access, and over time, shows like Bewitched, for example, where this image is from, have been seen on television for almost 50 years now, and shows like this help other sources beyond the big networks establish prominence. And even though the big networks are still a big player in most of the production of television content, now you see smaller channels and even not cable channels such as Netflix and Hulu producing their own content. So the future of TV is definitely going to look very different from the golden network age of production. And I think that could be great for our society as we allow more voices to come through. So out of all of this talk about different types of screens we allow in our homes and how networks are presenting their content to us, I hope you consider that you still have a choice to look deeper than those major outlets.